Hi, John here with L.P.M. and a quick review of the new Droid Xyboard 8.2 Android tablet from Motorola. As a follow-up to Motorola's Xoom released in early 2011, the Xyboard, known as the Xoom 2 in other markets, has been released in both 10.1-inch and 8.2-inch display sizes, both very similar in general appearance but distinguished in size, price points, and a couple of extra features. Specifically, the 10.1 is sold with an included stylus, additional note-taking applications, and a different audio speaker layout afforded by its larger size. But what we have with us here today is the smaller of the two, the Xyboard 8.2. So let's take a look. Inside the box, we find, of course, the tablet itself, and underneath it is the charging adapter, the USB cable for syncing and transferring content from your PC, and the basic Start Here user manual, plus warranty and safety literature. And now let's check out the tablet itself. Unwrapping the Xyboard, I'm first struck by its design. With a few caveats, I've generally been a fan of Motorola's approach to design, and the results in this tablet are no exception. The Xyboard is a sleek, thin, and easy-to-handle tablet with a tapered corner appearance that seems to visually set it apart from much of its competition. The body is wrapped in a thin, rubberized skin that makes it comfortable and easy to hold without fear of slipping, and the backside sports a gray metal plate that gives it something of a riveted industrial appearance. It's a very nice-looking tablet. On the top edge, we see the headphone jack, the primary speaker grill, and what appears to be an IR port for infrared controls or interaction. Perhaps something along the lines of using this tablet as a remote control for your television. And that's pretty cool to have built in. On the bottom edge, we find the micro USB port that accommodates the sync cable, as well as the charger. And it's nice to see that Motorola has moved to using a more standardized connection for the charging port. Much like its Xoom predecessor, the Xyboard also sports a micro HDMI port, which is great for connecting the tablet to an external display for viewing or presenting content on a big screen, or even enjoying a more engaging gaming experience. Next to that is the slot for inserting a Verizon 4G LTE micro SIM card, so you can take advantage of Verizon's high-speed 4G LTE connectivity service. Note here that there's no SD card slot for memory expansion, so keep that in mind if you anticipate needing more storage than what's already built into the device. If you're moving from the first generation Xoom tablet, you'll find that the Xyboard 8.2 is just a little bit thinner and almost half the weight of its predecessor. The 8.2-inch display puts the Xyboard 8.2 squarely in between the 9.7-inch display size of the Apple iPad 2 and the 7-inch Amazon Kindle Fire. At 0.35 inches deep, the Xyboard is just a tad thicker than the iPad 2, yet noticeably thinner than the Kindle Fire, which clocks in at 0.45 inches in depth. What I'm not too thrilled about is the placement of the power button on the back of the device. This seems to be a design decision that Motorola carried over from the first Xoom tablet, and just like with that device, I find that I frequently have to turn the tablet over to hunt for the button to turn it on. Additionally, Motorola has moved the volume rocker buttons to the back of the device, directly under the power button. The Xyboard 8.2 sports both front-facing and rear-facing cameras with 1.3 and 5 megapixel resolutions respectively. The 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera is probably a bit of a step up from the VGA standard among many other tablets and is perfectly suited for video chat use. And although I've long contended that a tablet makes for a rather awkward photography device, and I just wouldn't think of it as a primary shooter, I have to admit that the 5 megapixel rear-facing camera on the Xyboard 8.2 has me pretty impressed. While it seems to bear the same imaging specifications as the first generation Xoom, the imaging results on the Xyboard seem to be considerably improved all around. Details and color accuracy were quite good in well-lit conditions, although, as would be expected for this range of device, results were pretty marginal in low light, but could often be improved upon with the Xyboard's built-in LED flash, which some competing tablet devices just don't even have. Now, I do have to admit that my 9-year-old 2-megapixel point-and-shoot Digicam seemed to outperform the Xyboard camera in terms of color accuracy and handling of imaging noise, but there's just no question that the Xyboard is a very capable point-and-shoot image capture device in its own right. and the stock camera app even comes with a number of handy scene modes for even more effective and creative imaging uses. And this camera also shoots very nice 720p HD video. Now what about the rest of the tablet? Well, this is where the Xyboard 8.2 becomes something of a mixed bag. The Xyboard runs on a 1.2 GHz processor with 1 GB of RAM. Seemingly having been pushed out the door in order to make the holiday shopping season, the device is installed with the Android 3.2 Honeycomb operating system instead of the more recently released Ice Cream Sandwich Android OS. Although Motorola and Verizon have announced that the Xyboard will be updated to Ice Cream Sandwich sometime in 2012, there's no word on when that'll be. Although, since such updates must first be ported through the carrier to activate features as they see fit, and to integrate their own proprietary Moto Blur UI throughout the system, such updates can often take quite a while. That being said, anyone familiar with using an Android OS will likely feel perfectly at home with the Xyboard interface, along with the standard features and customization options common to Honeycomb. Although some elements are mildly customized by Motorola's Moto Blur UI, and of course you may wish to branch out beyond Verizon's limited App Store options if you're shopping for a fuller range of apps compatible with the device. The Xyboard features an 8.2-inch scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass IPS display with 1280 by 800 resolution, which is the same resolution as in the larger 10.1 device, but on this one, the pixels are packed more densely, giving the appearance of a sharper and perhaps even more detailed image. Photos and HD video look great on this screen, and from multiple angles, thanks to the IPS technology. But I have noticed that at the default setting, the screen generally appears just too dim, and makes the menu bar and quick access tabs too difficult to see. You can go into the settings and make adjustments for a brighter screen, but note that this will detrimentally affect an already questionable battery life, which I'll get to in just a moment. This tablet boasts 2.1 virtual surround sound audio with digital subwoofer, but take that with a grain of salt. No device like this is going to be thumping bass across the room. But I have to admit, the way they've designed the Xyboard to pump out loud, clear audio is actually pretty amazing. The dynamic range and clarity of speaker output from the Xyboard is easily among the best I've heard from any tablet. UI performance is, in most ways, perfectly adequate. The Xyboard doesn't seem to be any more noticeably snappy nor much more laggy than any other premium Android tablet, and in those regards, there just doesn't seem to be much that makes this stand out from the crowd, except, of course, for the 4G LTE connectivity on Verizon's network. 4G is not yet available in my Verizon service area, so I can't personally comment on it, but by all accounts, it's been well received by a lot of Verizon's customers who value its reliable connections and admirably speedy data rates. If you're in the market for a 4G LTE connected tablet, the Xyboard might be right up your alley, but you'll have to decide whether such a feature will be worth the price of an already costly Android tablet, especially despite some of the more notable criticisms of the Xyboard, chief among them being a poorly performing battery. Industry testing has placed the Xyboard battery life performance among the lower rungs of contemporary Android tablets, and use of 4G connectivity will no doubt increase the frequency of plugging in to recharge. That all being said, what about those prices? Well, the Motorola Droid Xyboard 8.2 is available from Verizon in both 16 and 32 GB options. The 16 GB retails for $600 and the 32 GB for $700. Both are also available for subsidized pricing at $430 and $530 respectively, with the purchase of a 2-year contract with Verizon, which technically can be factored into the overall cost of purchase, thereby making the purchase of a Xyboard a fairly significant investment over the course of a 2-year contract. The main concern I would have with such a purchase plan is rooted in the recent marketing history of the first-generation Xoom. Extremely underperforming sales prompted vendors to significantly reduce costs to clear out stock, and within 8 months, the device was largely abandoned in favor of putting focus on successive devices. With the continuously escalating life cycles of Android devices, should Motorola and Verizon follow suit with the Xyboard, potential buyers could soon find themselves tied to a really nice, but slightly underperforming and minimally supported tablet only 1/3 of the way through their current carrier contract. Caveat emptor. So, a quick wrap-up of the Droid Xyboard 8.2. Pros? I love the design. It's easy to carry and comfortable to hold. It's got a really decent camera, and it has impressive audio output. Cons? It has somewhat poor battery life, and it just seems kind of expensive for what you get with only adequate overall performance. I'd love to have access to the 4G connectivity since it's a primary feature of the Xyboard, but that's just not possible yet in my service area. But if you have 4G LTE connectivity in your service area, hopefully this will have helped you decide whether or not the Xyboard 8.2 might be a good fit for your tablet computing needs. I'm John with L.P.M, and thanks for watching.